Well, after waiting years for Shopify to finally launch their new store design experience, here it is, Online Store 2.0. If you've been following this channel since around this time last year, you might remember my video which discussed the changes to the online store design experience that were announced back at Shopify Unite 2019. While it was clear that Shopify were working behind the scenes to launch a new store design experience, the changes actually never came. That is, until right now. Let's take a look at what's new inside the Online Store 2.0 experience. This new version of the Online Store experience provides many long-needed enhancements. Some of these were announced as early as Unite 2019, while others have come as more of a surprise. Let's discuss each of these changes from a developer's perspective. Number one, in order to allow for sections everywhere, we've got a slightly new theme architecture. Now, instead of writing liquid code directly into templates, that code will be moved into sections, and these template files will now be written as a JSON object. This is the same data format that theme developers have been accustomed to with section and theme schemas. Turning these files into JSON now allows us to build pages in the new theme editor by adding and rearranging sections and blocks, similar to how we have done for years now on the home page. If we take a look at the new theme structure as is demonstrated on the new default theme Dawn, you can see that not much has changed. The only obvious difference is that all of the template files are now JSON files instead of liquid files, with the exception of the templates in the customer area. Shopify have finally come through on their promise to enable sections everywhere, while abandoning other changes that were announced at Unite 2019, such as master pages, frames, and content portability. Number two, Shopify have completely rehauled meta fields. In Online Store 2.0, meta fields can now be edited directly through the admin, meaning no need for any external apps or special URLs like the one I showed you in my last video. In addition, you can now create a meta field definition in a range of content types. You're no longer limited to just a single line of text. Then, after you've defined your new meta field, you can edit it directly from the product page in the admin, just like you would edit the standard fields like title or description. And finally, in order to bring it onto your front end, you can simply link the meta field to a field already in your section settings, therefore removing the need to hard code meta fields into your theme via liquid code. Along with these changes comes a new theme editor. If you've been using Shopify for some time, you would know that Shopify likes to update the look and feel of their theme editor on a pretty regular basis. The biggest difference between this version of the theme editor compared to the previous versions is this tree view of sections. This new look makes blocks a more prominent visual feature, which suggests a push from Shopify to move more of your section settings into blocks, therefore allowing you to rearrange those settings on the front end. Other features of this new editor include app blocks, which is the new way to add app widgets to your themes, and data linking, which we just saw an example of in regards to meta fields. Finally, the third major category of changes to the online store experience is developer tooling. As Shopify have written on their website, these new JSON templates aren't supported through ThemeKit. Instead, Shopify have extended the functionality of the Shopify CLI to include theme development, essentially replacing the use of ThemeKit altogether. In addition, Shopify will now integrate directly with GitHub. Previously, development teams had to try and come up with their own robust system for managing and deploying theme code changes. Now, as developers, we can manage and deploy directly to Shopify through GitHub. These changes to the Shopify theme development workflow, meta fields, and the theme structure represent a big change for Shopify, but it doesn't mean that absolutely everything is changing. For one, we're seeing no major changes to liquid code. Liquid is something that is constantly changing in the background, but the major objects, tags, and filters have largely stayed the same over time. Two, we're seeing no significant changes to section schemas. If you remember my video from last year, we talked about how Shopify were planning on adding a content field to schemas to standardize sections, but as it stands today, section schemas have not changed, with the minor exceptions of the custom liquid input type and the new app type. Finally, despite product templates now transforming into JSON objects, there have been no changes to the layout files the way Shopify described back in 2019. In the Unite 2019 announcement, Shopify declared that layouts would be replaced by something called frames. But according to the latest announcements, theme code will remain in the same familiar list of folders. I'm talking about layouts, templates, sections, snippets, assets, config, and locales. So now that we've summarized what is changing and what is not changing, let's talk about what we need to do today to ensure that we are up to date with the new system. First of all, don't freak out. The emergence of Online Store 2.0 does not mean that stores created using the old paradigm need to be fixed ASAP. Of course, Shopify might deprecate these themes eventually, but there's no rush as of right now. Currently, these new changes have good backwards compatibility with the old system, which means that you can continue to develop themes the way you've done previously, but you'll just miss out on the new features. To verify this, I decided to head into my partner's account and create a new development store. As Shopify writes on its website, the Online Store 2.0 features will be available on any stores created after June 29th, 2021. After you get into your new store, you'll see that the new Dawn theme replaces the previous default theme of Debut. I can still upload and run themes created with the old theme paradigm on this new Online Store 2.0 environment. And if I click to customize the theme, I can see that the new theme editor is still compatible with this old system. Online Store 2.0 is not actually a new store environment. It's just a way for Shopify to put a label on these new changes. And change is something that is constantly occurring in the Shopify ecosystem. So what does this all mean for developers? Well, firstly, there's no need to change how you develop themes right this second. This new version of the online store experience doesn't appear to be forcing developers to take any action right away. But if you wish to adapt to the new features of the Online Store 2.0 experience, you'll need to 1. Migrate your theme from Online Store 1.0 to 2.0. Shopify have a guide on their website for doing this, but I'll also be producing a tutorial on this for you. 2. Set up your new development environment. Remember, ThemeKit does not work with the new JSON templates, and so you'll need to install and work with the CLI instead. I'd also recommend that if you haven't already, you connect your theme with a GitHub repository, and that way you can deploy themes using Shopify's new GitHub integration. Finally, if you've been hard coding meta fields into your theme, you might want to refactor that code to allow for data linking within the theme editor instead. The same principle can be said for the app code as well. If the app you're using has made app blocks available, you can start to use that instead of having to hard code app code into your theme. All of these steps will be covering more in depth on this channel, so don't worry if any of this is confusing to you. Like I said earlier, there's no rush to adapt your existing practices to match with the new store design experience, so take as much time as you need to get up to speed with the new features. And if you need support along the way, make sure to subscribe or stay subscribed to this channel for tutorials on everything you need to know regarding Online Store 2.0 and beyond. I'll see you on the next video.